Hey all yous, yuns, and y'alls, welcome back. Today we're going to be cooking with Samwise Gamgee, a 2-drop 2/2 halfling peasant with the abilities, whenever another creature enters the battlefield, create a food, and you may sack 3 food to return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. This is a deck that I have been tooling for quite some time. I've really tried to make sure that this deck is really good at putting things into play, but it's not great at using those things once they're out there. Because again, we're reliant on enter the battlefield triggers for our commander to do something, and we're given food. And honestly, food being artifacts is cool, but that's about the limit of what it really gives you. I have built a lot of iterations of this deck. The one that I'm posting today is not one that I think is by any means an end-all be-all. However, I do think there's a lot that can be done with this commander, and as it cares about creatures entering and historic cards, I see it only getting better into the future. So, with that in mind, we're just going to move into this powerful toolbox that allows for value-oriented games. And just something to keep note of is this commander is actually fairly easily discernible. Diving right into this deck's value cards, because today we're going to be going in order of value cards, combo cards, and the general game plan to finish it off, more so we understand what the game plan is after we know what cards are good. So, first things first, we're going to be talking about the third most valuable card in the deck. By no means a bad card, just in this deck particularly, it was highly valuable but not the most valuable. And in order, number 3 is Peregrine Took, a 3-drop 2/3 halfling citizen that is mono green. It's 2 and a green. It has the ability, if one or more tokens are created under your control, create that many tokens plus a food. So +1 on food anytime a token is made, and you can sacrifice 3 foods to just draw a card. Peregrine Took is a sweet little value engine that allows for more food, well, per food. It also gives us an alternative way to spend our food as we try to claw any sort of card advantage we can from a Selesnya deck, and that's one of this deck's major weaknesses. Next up amongst the high value cards, we have Jaheira, Friend of the Forest, is a 3-drop 2/3 human elf druid with choose a background and gives tokens you control the ability to tap for a singular green. Powerful and simple, giving our token deck the ability to use those tokens for mana, as they really often won't be used for their other purpose, which is to gain life, unless we're in a very dire situation. This card often means you kind of set up near infinite mana, but it's also just really good as it really helps reduce the cost of most other cards in our deck that generate food, so it's a very valuable card in this deck. And finally on our value cards, we reach our hero, the protagonist of value in pretty much a lot of lists, but this one particularly is Academy Manufacturer. Academy Manufacturer is a 3-drop 1/3 construct artifact creature that says if you create a food, clue, or treasure, you make one of each of these instead. And our commander says whenever a creature enters, make a food, meaning we make a clue, a food, and a treasure instead every time a creature enters. This is an extraordinarily powerful ability and also gives us way more value than I think honestly we should have. So I'm putting it in this list as this Robro is able to turn our food, which are usually useless other than with our commander, into clues that can draw cards and treasures that produce mana as well. This often creates wins by itself because, again, this deck struggles with card draw, so this gives us both card draw, mana, and it's generating value with our commander on its own. Moving directly into our combo cards, we will jump in at our third best combo card, and this is going to actually be Gingerbrute. Gingerbrute is a 1 mana, 1 colorless, 1/1 haste that has the ability to pay 1 and give itself the ability only hasty creatures can block it, and then it also has the ability of a food, which is to pay 2, tap it, sacrifice it, and gain 3 life. This innocuous little card allows for some of the deck's fastest combos, as it works as both a way to generate a food as Samwise, and it itself is actually a food. This allows us to use it as almost a cost reducer for our commander in a way, and it really allows us to set up some really stupid stuff. Our number 2 combo card in the deck is actually going to be Clock of Omens. Clock of Omens is a 4-drop artifact. It has the ability of tap 2 untapped artifacts to untap target artifact. Plenty of artifacts in the deck, check. Lots of ways to use tap abilities, check. Mana producers that are artifacts, check. And really what this means is this card is almost a one-card win con if our board is at least mildly set up. And it really allows you to go basically completely infinite with a bunch of cards in the deck. Finally, our best combo card in the deck, the number one, the grandpappy of all value and combo in this deck, to be completely honest, is Scrap Trawler, a 3-drop, 3/2 artifact construct that has the ability of whenever it or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may return an artifact with mana value less than the artifact that was put into the graveyard this way, from your graveyard to your hand. This ability in and of itself allows it to go pseudo-infinite with even the non-creature-based combos that are already in the deck, and that by itself makes it as valuable or more valuable in most cases than any real one card in the deck. It's a general value piece that really is hard to beat in any capacity. Basically, Scrap Trawler and Samwise Gamgee, they're bros. They really play off each other quite well, and being able to generate food passively and then being able to reset your historic count, which the Scrap Trawler allows you to go infinite with if you're able to do that, just makes the deck even safer and even faster. So when it comes to gameplay styles, because of how diverse of a build that this deck actually tends to be, it falls underneath one of 3 playstyles, and the creature-based combo one is the one that I enjoyed and it kind of went the fastest because it's kind of a puzzle and real complicated. So that's the kind of gameplay I enjoy, and I very much understand that that's not for everyone. The main 3, first is that you run a cheap commander that can very safely run Voltron by using other creatures that help keep Voltron in check. Being able to keep your swords or whatever kind of Voltron pieces you're using safe is a very, very good way to play this deck. However, it does have the limitation of having a limited amount of stuff it can eventually bring back. Number 2, historic value cards. Planeswalkers, big legendaries, big splashy cards, so it's kind of a, once you've gotten your tempo out, you just have this board that's really hard to stop from ever happening, or prevent from ever beating. That's really the goal. But again, that deck was a little too soft to board wipe, so it wasn't really my jam. Finally, which is this one, is combo by setting up a bunch of card draw and disruptive cards that stop your opponents until you can either set them up with a combo or run a beatdown effect. This deck kind of struggled with the beatdown effect, I will be honest, in the non-big splashy card version, more by design. This commander is extremely versatile and honestly something I'd highly recommend to people who are kind of getting into deck building after they've done a little bit of it themselves. And I'd like to thank everyone so much for watching. Samwise was a super fun commander to play around with, so played a bunch of games with it online in competitive scenes to see if it could be competitive. I determined that by itself as a commander, I don't think it is. That doesn't mean that it won't be, because as I said at the beginning, it's only going to get better in the future. Before I leave you guys here, I would like to ask if moving away from new cards is going to be okay. I'm happy to stick with it. I'm happy to continue, but I've started playing competitive again recently and would love to do a couple deck techs on some of the lists that I run. Without further ado, thank you so much for watching. Pragmatic out.